Okay, let's get rolling. So, we heard a little bit from 7 Signal earlier today. We're going to hear a little bit more. This time, up on the stage, we're going to bring in both Jim Vajda and Russ Wangler. Jim is the director of Global Wi-Fi Solutions at 7 Signal, and Russ is the CTO. So I'd like to welcome on stage both Jim and Russ.
How y'all doing? Hopefully we'll try to keep you awake.
Yes. So, hi, Jim and Russ here from 7 Signal, and today we want to give you kind of a technology update, show you some of the new things we've been working on and explain how it works. So that's what I'm going to be presenting, and then Russ gets to do the really fun stuff and talk about future state things and what's coming next. So we like these to be interactive and have a lot of Q&A. We want to have time at the end to have a good discussion with everybody here. So please use the slido.com website to send questions and submit feedback, trash our UI, whatever you feel like is necessary. No, you won't want to do that after we show you some things. So real quick, I'm the Director of Global Wi-Fi Solutions at 7 Signal, which means I'm an SE, CWNE. There's my Twitter and blog. And Russ, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm the Chief Technology and Product Officer, agile guy, been in custom software development for like 25 years. What that really means is we deliver software pretty much every month, so we have new features for you all. And the other thing I wanted to open with is, I've worked in a lot of domains. I've worked in investments. I've worked in warehouse management. And out of all of them, I have a lot of respect for the people in this room. You're dealing with a complex domain. And what makes it even harder for you, I think, is that most people have very little appreciation for the complexity. So I just want you to give yourselves a round of applause because, sincerely, I've worked with a lot of domains. This is a tough one, and it makes it a lot of fun. So hopefully we can make your lives easier.
Okay, so you guys are here at 5:30 at night, and as a reward, we're going to show 45 minutes of marketing slides. That's what we're here, right?
Woo!
No, we're not going to do that. So the way we've been thinking about Wi-Fi analytics is in this framework of the top 7 Wi-Fi problems. And this is a list that came from surveying customers, talking internally, talking to partners, and asking them what are the problems they deal with on a daily basis. And it all sort of filtered into these 7 things. And so our development framework, the way we're structuring everything, is around this model. And we want to have really straightforward, practical ways to address each of these and give you the visibility tools that you need to get to the bottom of them and solve them. So the tools we have are Mobileye, which Eric Kamuli showed you a little bit of during the vendor showcase, and Sapphire Eye, which is what our company was founded on. That's the hardware sensor that runs passive and active tests. It's been around for a while. Mobileye is newer and gaining capabilities. And I like this slide because it shows of those 7 problem areas, which tool can address which today. And one thing you'll notice is Mobileye can really address a lot, including some infrastructure side problems. So we're excited to be able to show you some of those things.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
Can you go back 2 slides?
Sure.
I want to do something different. I've been watching some of the presentations, and the cool thing about having a wireless mic is I can walk around and break the rules. So look up at the list. I have a question that just anybody can answer. Are we missing a problem? I actually did a boatload of research on this. I looked at 20 different companies who had an opinion. It was normally top 3. What's missing? Security. All right, fair enough. Anything else? Quality of service?
Around security would be authentication problems in
Just authentication problems in general? Yeah, we're not representing that up here, are we?
I think it falls into WLAN configuration a little bit.
Yeah.
In a very general sense, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe a
Security on
weakness
its
with
own.
the framework, the way we're thinking about it, is it's very much about, kind of the causes for problems. And, well, yeah, it's a good point. I know Sapphire handles a lot of, it takes a very close look at authentication through all the various handshakes. But thanks for the feedback.
Yeah. Cool. Bad clients, but bad client adapters and drivers, right? Very straightforward problem to look at with an agent that runs on those machines, which is what Mobileye is, right? It's a background service running on Mac, Windows, Android, and to a limited extent iOS as well. It's very easy to pull that information and see what adapter and what drivers they run. And that's critical information because it turns out the driver code that adapters run is just as prone to bugs as the WLC code that we all run on a daily basis. And here, client radios, though, they make up the vast majority of the radios in a Wi-Fi network. And we're laser focused on APs. This is that next step, and I think I encourage people to learn about these driver versions. And so if I were to put up a list of WLC code, there's a lot of people out there would say, "Oh, that bug affects that one, and stay away from that," and "Oh, that got deferred." But when you see this driver list, how many people recognize buggy code in this list? Not as many. But it can be just as problematic. Okay, so roaming, right? Roaming is a very common problem, especially in verticals with a lot of mobility, like healthcare and manufacturing as well. So it turns out that's a pretty straightforward problem to get visibility into if you've got the data from an agent on the machine. So on the left, there's all the roaming data from an individual client, the minimum signal strength that it had at its radio. And then we're also capturing the channel scan results from that client when it goes off channel and looks for other APs. So we could tell, in this case, when the RSSI that it was receiving at neg 90 dBm, bottomed out, that from its own channel scan results, there was another AP at minus 55 dBm. So we'd have an angry end user saying the Wi-Fi sucks, there's a coverage hole, and it turns out it was just a client that didn't roam. And if that was a persistent problem, that would be an area of investigation. So we can take that data in aggregate and start making really cool reports. And one of my favorites is this platforms report that creates this sunburst of increasing levels of detail. And out on the edge, we've got the driver version. And then coming inward, we've got adapters and then makes and models and then platforms. And obviously the color scheme makes it easy to see what's working well and what's not. So you can drill into that pretty well.
Hey, while we're talking about clients, I hate standing on this stage. I got to walk around. It's too, I feel like it's a lecture, and I don't like lectures. So what is cheaper to replace, your clients or the access point infrastructure? Depends on the clients. Generally speaking, it's the clients, right? And one of the things that I remember learning from, I don't know if Keith is in here, Keith Parsons taught me, he said, look, he's gone to had multiple customers, and the big vendor sales guys in there, right? Because there's normally one vendor for the access points, selling the new features, put in $1 million. Next thing you know, what do you got? The same performance problems. Why? Because you got old clients, right? Old drivers. So one of the things that our mobile product really is focusing on is trying to identify that, right, and make it clear to you if your problem is really a client problem or not. So hopefully save you some money, make life easier.
Yeah, and what we're doing with that is we're taking these problem events that we're discovering and organizing them by SSID and by site. So if you have a lot of coverage problems or congestion problems, and they correlate to a certain site, you know, you no longer have an individual client problem. You want to know what site's affected. So that's what this report shows. And in particular, coverage, this is what a coverage event looks like, a coverage problem. It's just low signal strength, obviously, but also looking at the channel scan results on that machine, there's no neighboring AP with a better signal strength to roam to. So we just have a coverage event. Very simple. Now, it's a simple event, but it's really valuable because we're seeing the client's own RSSI. We know there's a lot of variability in client RSSI values, right? So a phone and a laptop will have report different RSSI, and even there can be a large variance within devices that are the same make and model. And so the data you see here is the real data that client is showing. And Russ and I were just talking about this. It's actually a good way to identify those clients that have insensitive radios. So it actually isn't necessarily a coverage problem. If we see a client that's constantly got events like this, it may just have had a radio that was a little bit out of tolerance off the line at the factory. So congestion. This is one of my favorite problem events. We took some inspiration from Keith Parsons, actually, because one of the things he does to quickly check the Wi-Fi is, and there he is, hey Keith, check your signal strength, check your data rate or MCS, right? And then run a throughput test. Okay, so if my Wi-Fi metrics, signal and data rate are good, and my throughput's low, you know, maybe this hotel or wherever I'm at has a oversubscribed internet circuit. We're actually taking that a step further, though, because from capturing the beacon frames on these machines, we can get the channel utilization and client count from the QBSS load information element. So we'll present that at the same time as we look at this data. And now we can distinguish between congestion in the RF, right? Is the channel utilization high? And congestion upstream, maybe at the WAN circuit or somewhere north of the AP. So very cool. Okay, this is new. So co-channel interference, obviously a very significant problem, and we want to give you visibility into it. So here we're looking for overlapping BSSs on the same channel, of course, and we'll also give you, some insight into the severity of the problem by looking at the channel utilization at the same time. ACI as well. So, we can tell if we have overlapping BSSs and the channels don't line up, we've got an ACI problem, adjacent channel interference, which can be much worse. We're no longer politely sharing the spectrum the way 802.11 does. We're actually just stomping on top of each other and causing collisions and retries and a really bad scenario. So we can pick that out as well. Okay, so a couple of the ways Mobileye gets used, because it's software only, we see people deploying it widely to get some visibility everywhere, get client visibility and troubleshooting capabilities, and some basic WLAN visibility as well. So it scales really well. It's good for large-scale deployments. Okay, and Russ, do you want to talk about the roadmap then?
Yeah, talk a little bit about the roadmap.
Thanks.
So, neither Jim or I are big marketing guys, and we're both just want to provide you something that's going to help, right? And if there's something we're doing that isn't where it should be, I want you to know that, right? Because that way you know what you're looking at. So when I talk about the roadmap, for those of you who are already using the product, I want you to understand kind of where its weaknesses are and what we're doing to improve it. So one of the big things we talked a little bit about clients and the impact they can have on performance. One of the things that we report on a lot in our dashboard is, we have service levels. So, if you're under this threshold, assuming that client's having a problem. Well, if you've got different clients, supporting different streams, their behavior, one stream versus 4, is dramatically different, right? And so that you really need to look at them individually, because, if I get a one-stream client, he might be rocking out right at 60 megabits a second versus, a 4-stream client, that's a bad day. So what we're working on and we'll be delivering before the end of this year is an awareness of client capability, which along with that, you're going to get a full list of all the capabilities the client has, not just number of streams supported. We're already telling you driver adapter version. We'll also be talking about amendment support, V, K, do those clients support that, and giving you nice simple reports that, kind of help you identify where you might uplift some of your clients. We're also going to be getting a lot more clear on network capabilities. We actually already have this in the back end. We haven't exposed it all yet. By network capability, I just mean, beyond the mode that the network's operating in, what all does it support, right? Bring that together and start giving you a more complete picture from the client's perspective of what's going on, what's going on out there. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but the various platforms that clients operate on have very different capabilities in terms of telling you anything about reality, including themselves. Mac does a reasonably good job. You can get most of what you want. iOS gives you next to nothing. Android gives you some, can give you a lot. It really depends on the implementation of the operating system. Phone versus something more custom off the shelf. I lost my train of thought. Where the heck was I going? Do you know where I was going?
Client capabilities.
Client capabilities, right. So why does that matter? So Windows can't tell you MCS, right? Probably the simplest way to understand if a client's having a bad day is MCS. Windows doesn't have it, right? It's very difficult to access. So by the end of this year, we'll pull all this together. We'll be able to give you not only a full understanding and inventory of all of your clients and their underlying capabilities down to the amendments they support, but also MCS on Windows. So definitely it's something we're looking forward to delivering for the end of the year. A couple other things, and I don't want to take too much time, Jim, because I think you've got some other stuff you want to cover. Another thing we're really focused on is, we built from the bottom up, and the product's actually really young. Our mobile product is only a couple years old. And as we built, we went bottom up, right? So a lot of the stuff you've seen are all about a client, its bad day, specifics about what happened, right? So the next thing we're focused on is bringing you a much clearer picture of error rate, not only for a single client, but all clients at a location. And with error rate, we can start giving you some alarms that are more meaningful, and we can also suppress some of the noise. Because, RF is just variable. It's intrinsically variable. If it slows down, that can be a good thing, right? Because that's what it was designed to do, continue to give service even when the conditions are hard. So we want to make sure that we're not over alarming you. Want to make sure we've got the right service levels based on client capability, network capability, as well as how many of your clients have to be having a bad day before you want to be told about it. Right, so these are the key things that'll come out here over the next 2 or 3 months, and as we're delivering that new framework, we've started working on a new dashboard, which I think you can see here. So this dashboard is trying to make life a little bit easier by breaking things down into, why Wi-Fi sucks. Right, we've heard a lot about what end users say about Wi-Fi when it sucks. There are like only 2 or 3 things anybody ever says. Either I can't connect or it's slow, right? Those are probably the top 2. And So we've broken this dashboard down into saying let's start with a given location. How are we doing from a connectivity perspective? Both for a server, for gateways, for web pages. Given we're a client and we're cloud-based, right? If that client completely falls off the map, we're not going to know that till they come back, right? But we can tell you about intermittent connection problems and so forth. So then the next step here is, as you kind of go to the right, you see performance health. So this is more, why Wi-Fi sucks from a performance perspective. I'm getting drop calls. That's probably the third most common thing you hear about. We've got MOS for Mac. We're working on it for Windows. We've got it for iOS. So what we're seeing up here is just a list of, what are the common problems that are the most common, that are most understood? Throughput, it's slow. I can't get to my website. Whatever website you point at, my voice calls are getting dropped. Up here at the top, the big gauges are really just using service level percentage. What percentage of my clients are healthy? Here it was 76% healthy. That's outside of SLA because we wanted a better target in this case. And so that means, the balance are either having warnings or critical problems. And then basically this guy just, as you go down, it breaks it down. If you've got a Wi-Fi problem, that's going to masquerade or, leave you false positives potentially for the network. So the first thing we focus on, hey, do you have a Wi-Fi problem? You see an interference, roaming, coverage issues, congestion. And if that's all green and you're still seeing problems, then it's highly likely you've got a WAN problem, right, or a backhaul network problem. So that's what this dashboard's about. Again, being a little bit rebellious. I know it's not Q&A time, but anybody, does that make sense? Like, is that something you could see yourself actually being able to use? Yeah? Because, we've looked at all the dashboards. Some do it well. Honestly, I think Mist does a really good job. The main thing that what we've never seen a good example of, I feel like Mist does a really good job with locations. Nianza does a pretty good job with locations, although I'm biased. I kind of prefer what Mist's able to pull off. We have another view of this, which is an all-location view. And in this view, what we do, instead of talking about the events for a particular location, we'll break down all of your locations and give you your worst location list by type, by problem type. So where is interference the biggest problem? And then based on that, you can click in to that particular location and deal with it. Because a lot of our customers have upwards of 400 locations, right? So I don't know if this is all the way there yet, but has anybody seen a dashboard that does a really good job with location? Raise your hand if you know anybody can handle like 300 locations. Because I'd love to know what it is if there's one out there. Because even when you're an international company and you've got 3 main regions, you're still dealing with typically more than 100. Yeah? Global scale? I will take a look. I don't think I've looked at that one, so I appreciate hearing about that. All right, so we move on?
Well, before we transition to Sapphire Eye, let's answer some of these questions about Mobileye that have come in on
Absolutely.
Slido. First one, there's a self-driving car company with that name, Mobileye. Any relation? No. It's the second time I've heard that. Matthew Norwood, can you aggregate the Mobileye data across all your customers to get better metrics around which clients perform poorly on average? Russ, you want to take that one?
Yes, we've actually looked at doing that. So as I said, we're kind of an agile group. Unlike Mist, we don't have a $90 million paycheck, $90 million bucket of money to spend. So we've talked to our customers and prioritized ruthlessly what they said they wanted. When we've talked to them, honestly, what they've told us is, that's an interesting idea, and I'd like to see that data, but I don't know that I'd really trust it. It would be interesting, but I don't know that I would make decisions off of it. So yes, we have the data. Yes, we're going to do some analytics and share it, but in terms of it becoming a feature in the next 6 months, probably not.
Okay, David asks, can you do analysis by building and floor? We can do building for sure. Floor is a little bit tricky, but we can go. The next kind of level of detail we would have is AP name, and so if that AP name is labeled by floor, it makes it a little bit easier to do that.
Yeah, it depends on product. We're focused on mobile. It's our newer product. It's easier, a little bit easier to deploy. Our Sapphire product, which is more of a traditional sensor-based product, it's actually one of the first ones that was on the market about 10 years ago, and they've had a lot of followers since. That guy's definitely service area, sections of floors, sections of an arena, right? Just totally different. Also client-based, but it's a sensor-based client, and it can easily handle location and sections of a location, floors, west side of the wing, whatever.
So we'll save the Sapphire Eye question for later. With the coming Linux distro, will the coming Linux distro work on Raspberry Pi, such as to create a cheap or portable polling client?
That hasn't been our focus at this time. We've looked more at thin clients in general. We serve a lot of hospitals, and there's a general trend to move towards thin clients because they're easy to maintain, easy to operate. So I think we'll probably look there first. We actually built a Raspberry Pi some time back and kind of decided not to go that way.
Any hope of Apple allowing you to gather more analytics? No. Do you support an internal test node for a throughput test to help determine if I have a local issue or a WAN ISP link issue? Yes, and that's what Sapphire Eye is.
Yes, and we've got a tool called the Sonar that you can run throughput tests against, and any segment in your network. Mobile can use that, and we're looking to actually add more throughput types and variations and make those even easier to deploy. Right now, it goes out on a VM, Linux VM. We're looking to open that up so you can have it on any number of Linux platforms.
What about IoT-type device analysis? We can do some over the air with Sapphire Eye. And then, if they're running a version of Linux, perhaps our Mobile Eye client can help some of those.
Yeah, coming back to iOS, we've talked to them more than once, and they very directly said, no, never, ever. We don't care. Enterprise is not our target market. They've relinquished a little bit of control only for the largest industries like healthcare, but I would never expect to really see them play nice. Looks like Android's starting to go the same way. If you've been watching, they're limiting background operation. I can't go too much into detail, but we're working on actually a patent that might help us understand what's going on those miserly platforms. And I'll be excited to talk about that once we get through that process.
So let's go back to the slides, and we'll talk about what's new with Sapphire Eye. So Sapphire Eye, we have a new sensor, the 2200, which has all the same capabilities as the previous model. It's just a Wave 2 802.11ac 3-stream radio, so a little bit of an upgrade there. And to address a question earlier, yes, it can do over-the-air packet capture. It has a spectrum analyzer, and what was the other thing? Yes, VoIP testing. So we can do a VoIP test from this, as well as the Mobile Eye client for some platforms, to our Sonar server, which you can put anywhere on your network that makes sense. You can think of it like an iPerf server, just does a little bit more. So cool. So a little aside, and this is Sapphire Eye data, but one thing we see working with our customers, and I work with a lot of them, whenever we open up the SpecAN, almost everywhere, and look at 2.4 gigahertz, we see Bluetooth Low Energy, almost everywhere. So I think CWNP's CWSA program is very timely because we're seeing a lot of other protocols operating in that band. Cool. So Sapphire Eye, we've had some UI challenges in the past, and we're cleaning that up. We've got a dark UI, high contrast, similar to Mobile Eye, which will be coming out soon. So consistent UI, better user experience, all those good things that people have been asking for, we're going to be delivering on. And so the way Sapphire Eye gets deployed typically is more limited. It's in those most mission-critical areas where the infrastructure performance needs to be monitored 24/7. So hospitals will put it in the ED, ER, anywhere patient care is going on. Manufacturing companies put these on factory floors. higher ed, put them in lecture halls that support high density, and then stadium and arenas where very high density WLANs are deployed, are using them as well. And so coming soon will be smart alarms, right? We want to generate one email instead of 500 when something's wrong and just give you what you need to know. And then the same dashboard that Russ demoed a few minutes ago, we're going to start bringing in Sapphire Eye data into that and starting to unify those platforms and do analytics on both data sets. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, probably just the most useful thing is, over the next few years, we're going to see AX come out. And once OFDMA is out there, really the only way to have a complete picture of what's going on in your world is a mix, right? You're going to need a mix of client telemetry, AP and controller telemetry to get an accurate picture. Because from a physics perspective, you can't just go out and understand what's going on in an AX network, because there are some things only the AP really knows. In the same way that there are quite a large number of things that the AP, there are things it doesn't know. So one of the things we're focused on over the next year is really bringing the two platforms together, so that if you've got, because most of our Sapphire customers also have a lot of mobile clients, if you have a problem anywhere, we're going to start correlating both the client data with what we're seeing on the APs, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
For us, anyway.
Okay, something that's totally new for us is going to be a small form factor hardware sensor, not unlike a Raspberry Pi, but certainly more enterprise friendly and rugged. That's going to be, it's going to be a sort of plug and play portable Sapphire Eye. So whereas the 2200 is fixed and you mount it like an AP and you kind of set it where it goes and leave it, this is going to be more dynamic. You can put it in your backpack, you can ship it to sites and just have them plug it in and get the visibility you need remotely. It's going to be a really good troubleshooting tool. A couple of the use cases it's going to have, right? So you can have a pack of 4 or 5 and just send them out to whatever site is blowing up with Wi-Fi problems and give visibility there.
And it has all the same capabilities as a Sapphire sensor.
Yeah.
Meaning, right, so you can do a remote packet capture, spectrum analysis, pretty much all of that. The only difference is it's not Wave 2.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so you can put it in your backpack, put it in all your desktops, your field support or desktop support guys' backpacks. So when they say there's a Wi-Fi problem, leave that behind, and there's your Wi-Fi tools available remotely. So,
yeah, and part of what we're trying to do is make it easier for you guys to have more visibility at less cost. We could talk for a long time about all the things we're doing to try and provide that for you. But this portable, as our platform starts to merge and come together, I think one of the things I'm most excited about is the ability to have a suite of mobile clients out there, some of which, we didn't talk about this, but the feature we'll work on early next year is what we're thinking of as a disconnected client, right, who's going to be able to monitor a lot more frequently and a lot more in a lighter touch fashion, and then aggregate that with a few of these portable eyes, which are a lower price point. You don't have to run wire for it, but it'll give you visibility into network service problems. Do I have a radius problem? Do I have general IP problems, DNS problems? Just 1 or 2 per location per network segment. 1 actually, you'd be good to go. Be able to have packet capture, spectrum analysis, pretty much all the tools you might want to deploy, while also having a view across all of your clients, because the disconnected version is going to be it'll be less expensive, and it's trivially easy to deploy, and it updates itself. So excited to be out and talking about that hopefully early next year.
we have a few more minutes. It's actually a good transition into our roadmap for Sapphire Eye.
Yeah, I think we actually already covered it. And is anybody else getting hungry? Anybody getting hungry? I'm getting hungry. It's like 6 o'clock. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
How expensive do you expect that multiple factor sensor to be?
That's a good question. Hey, Eric. Where's Eric? Is Eric in here?
He's there.
Eric, where are we with that?
Yes, in terms of the smaller form factor, we really want this to be, less than 300, somewhere like a, 199 type of a price point. We really want it to be just something that anybody could purchase, anybody could use, big or small organization.
Any other call-outs, questions? You guys digging the conference? Wait, there's somebody over there. Nope. You
False
guys,
positive.
false positive?
Oh, you?
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
it's you. I thought you were
That was
pointing
you.
over there.
Get the microphone. So the small one, is it like battery driven then? So you have batteries inside, so you can just leave it, or is it?
Oh, it'll be.
You have to connect it somewhere.
Yeah. It's not PoE, right? It'll be you can either it'll be like a wall wart. There's actually you can put a plug right on it and just stick it in the wall and let it hang itself. There'll also just be a regular AC adapter.
Or a PoE to USB adapter or something similar.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And actually, I said we're going to start beta testing that with customers within a month. All right.
Cool.
All right. I hope you all have a great conference, man. It's a great environment. Nicely chosen venue. Thank you very much for choosing.
I had
it.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
I'm
still
just the
good.
guy with the microphone. Hey guys, thank you so much. Hey, let's give it up for these guys.